Hello again, everyone. In one of my recent previous videos, we took a look at one of these Clarion CD mechanisms, and I showed you guys the gear that cracks, that drives the loading and unloading roller that runs across the mechanism here. And I told you guys how I don't have a place to get replacement gears, but that I had to resort to make my own. Well, these are the gears that I've made, and these were made using a mold. I'll show you guys in a sec here. And as I had mentioned previously, there was two different types of gears that are used in this mechanism. There's these here, and then there's this other type here that has like a bigger pitch on the teeth, and then this one's smaller. This third type here, and I've actually used one, as you can see, this other type of gear here is used in these other mechanisms. This is a 6-disc changer that you can find in a lot of, I've seen them in Toyotas, I've seen them in Hondas, GM, Chevys. It's a pretty widely used one. This one's actually not working, and it's missing a bunch of stuff because I just kind of gutted it for parts and whatnot. But the gear in this one goes on this little, there's like a little pinion right there that goes to the roller that loads and ejects the discs. So in a later video, I'll probably be doing a repair on one of these when I come across one. These are pretty common as well. So anyways, today what we'll actually be looking at is this DVD loader here. This was from one of those aftermarket fold down DVD players, the ones that, like, you can get for like a van or whatever, or an SUV. And these are pretty common. Not this particular model, but like a lot of these DVD loaders that you find in those, they seem like they're just like these third-party drives you can get, because I don't think the companies that make those fold-down DVD players make these themselves or anything. This one actually has a model number here. It says a DSS-867. I tried to find some on eBay just to see if I could like buy the whole mechanism, but the only thing that I found was the laser lens assembly, and I don't really need that. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because this one actually also has a broken loader gear. And one thing that I think is actually interesting about this one is how the way it opens up. I'll show you guys that right now. And it has 5 screws, 4 on each corner, or I mean 4 on one on each corner, and then like a 5th one down here. On the back, there's really not a whole lot. There's all these connectors, total of 5 connectors here, but it actually only used the ribbon here and then this other connector here on the top left. The other ones were empty. So I guess it doesn't take much to use one. But anyways, to open this up, once you remove all 5 screws, this top part actually just lifts up from the rest, except for in the back here, the motor was connected to this little connector, this little tubing connector, which I had already removed. And in the front, there's 2 springs, and those were just hooked onto those little hooks in there. And if you can get this to focus, you can see it. That in there, so it went to that little hook, and I just unhooked those before I lifted it up. So this just comes off, and underneath is where all the mechanical components are. It's actually, it doesn't look very complicated on this one. And on the bottom, it's just the main controller board. It's got a few little optical sensors right here, the spindle motor, the laser lens assembly. So pretty simple. And like I said, I like how this opens up, that you have the top part and then you got the bottom part, so you don't have to be like dealing with removing a bunch of little mechanical components just to get to the main board or whatever, if that's where the issue was. So we'll move this one aside, and if you can take a look in here, you can see that that gear has a crack. It looks a lot worse than it actually is. All that black stuff on there, I think it's just grease, because it's just a hairline fracture on there again, but the grease in there makes it look a lot worse. And then this the motor drives this gear right here that feeds this shaft that goes all the way to the other end. So this is pretty easy to turn, and as you can, if I hold this down, you probably won't be able to tell, but actually I know an easy way to tell. Okay, I've made a little red mark on the shaft right there, and as you can see, when I rotate this, and there's no pressure on there, this the shaft rotates pretty freely with the gear. But once there's some pressure on there, like say from the disc, and you try to rotate it, it just slips. So this isn't a device that I come across. This is the first one I've ever seen of these, so we're gonna have to make a one-up for this gear right here. The only reason why I have a bunch of these other ones is because these are like, I come across them very frequently, so I decided to just make a little mold where I can make a bunch at once, and then I just break them off of here and drill them out, and off we go. And they work pretty well, so I've been sticking to this. So for this one, we're gonna have to remove it, give it a good cleaning, and then I'll show you guys how we make the molds. For these other ones, this is the mold I've already made, and this is made using a two-part silicone mix. And the reason why I have Teflon Kapton tape all around here is just once I put the mixture in, I don't want it to spill out the sides too much, so I just kind of use this to hold it in. It's a pretty crude way to do it, but I mean, it works. Here's another mold that I've made previously for some other gears. This one was one of the first ones I made using this stuff, and it's this one is not a very good mold, and I'll show you guys why. This one was made a lot later, and this one's a really good mold, and I'll also show you guys why. We're actually looking at the bottom side here for when I made these molds. The top side would actually be this side right here. And let me zoom in a bit, and maybe you can kind of see one thing I'm talking about. As you can see on the bottom surface of this mold, it's other than those like little like dings and like scratches and stuff, it's pretty flat. You don't really see like a whole lot of bubbles or anything. But if you look on the bottom of this one, all those like little bumps that you notice there, those are bubbles. And the reason why this one has much more bubbles than this one does is because I used a vacuum. I put this in a little chamber, and then I vacuumed the air out to get as much of the bubbles out as I could from the mixture. And what that does is it allows the stuff to get into the little nooks and crannies of the gears a lot better. As you can see on this one here, there's like these little areas where there's like chunks missing, and that's because of bubbles. And this was like 3 gears here, and then this was a knob that I was trying to replicate. That one also, as you can see, like those little areas that are missing, that's because of air trapped in the mixture. So I'll be showing you guys the vacuum that I use for this. When I went to go make this mold, what I had used was a piece of clay at the bottom of this little container, and you can actually still see the indentations from the stuff. I used clay to just kind of like tack the gears down so that they wouldn't be floating around in the mixture when I started pouring the mixture or anything like that. This one here was vacuumed, and it was using, I don't think I used this one, but I had used a similar, another little tray like this with the clay and the gears all stuck down. You can kind of see how the surface of this is got these like kind of like uneven points, but that's because of that. It's because of the clay. So, but as long as the gears themselves, the little molds of the gears are, like pretty intact, that's kind of all that I cared about. This is the vacuum pump, and this is the chamber I'm going to be using. This is just a little aluminum pot that I got at the store for, for like a couple dollars or whatever. It's just pretty simple. This here is a piece of plexiglass, which is honestly not the best thing to use for something like this. It's actually pretty crappy, and the reason why is because you can have this happen. And this actually happened just before I started working on this particular project. This was originally from an LCD monitor, and it's pretty thick. I mean, it's just a little over 1/4 inch thick, and just from the pressure, like pulling, like kind of like sucking it in, it would put some pressure in where I had drilled it out, and eventually it just kind of cracked outwards like that. So yeah, that one's dead. I had to resort to getting another piece of plexi, which was not as thick as that, and it's what I'm going to be using. But I'm not going to pull the vacuum as hard as I normally do. I'm going to just kind of keep it a little light this time, and I wanted to use the plexi so you guys can actually see what's going on in here. Ideally, what I would have wanted to use was like a bell jar over some sort of a plate that I could have attached the fittings onto. This is just a 1/4 inch pressure fitting, and that goes up to the pump inlet. So yeah, that's that. And as a gasket, I just have this piece of foam. that we put over the top there, and then we put this on top, you know, the cover, kind of center it in there as west as we can, and then we flip it on and it just, you know, let it vacuum for a bit. So that way, since this is clear, we'll be able to look right inside and you'll be able to see what's going on. Of course not tilted, but you know. So the stuff that I use to make these silicone molds is this stuff here that I got on eBay. It's called Effects, and it's a silicone, this is a silicone rubber base, and then this is the curing agent. So you mix, it actually tells you right here, it's a mixed ratio of 10:1 by weight. So you know, you use like a few drops of this to, you know, whatever weight you're going to use this stuff to, you know, reach that ratio of 10:1. And I'll put up a link below of the seller I bought the stuff from. So that's that. And then this is the plastic resin stuff that I used to actually make the gears. You have to mix these two together at a ratio of 1:1, and it starts hardening pretty quick. So as soon as you mix this stuff, you gotta pour it into your mold. And then we also use the vacuum on this to remove any imperfections, as you'll see later on. And it says it, you know, demold time is like 15 minutes, and yeah, it's pretty quick. I mean, you have these things made like within a matter of minutes. I use 2 little pipettes for each one of these. You know, I use, like, say, you know, I was doing 10 drops of this one, then I'll do like another 10 drops of this, you know, mix it up really quick and then pour it in into the mold and all of that, and you know, away we go. And here's a few other accessories that I also use. This is just like a little well for like paints stuff. This plastic works really well because this stuff doesn't really stick to it, so I'm able to like clean it out pretty easily. Here's the pipettes I use. I've cut the ends off of these so that the 2 holes are, you know, pretty evenly matched, so that one's not dropping more than the other is, and that way I can get like a pretty even amount of the resin mixture. And then here's just a small scale to measure the weight of this silicone rubber mix. I'm just going to use this little cap to make the mold of that gear. Since it's so small, I really don't want to waste a lot of that stuff. So what I'm probably going to do is after I turn this on and let it settle, I'm going to put this on there. I'm just going to do it by grams, and then I'm going to zero it out. I'll pour in my silicone rubber mixture, or the base, and, you know, weigh that out, and then I'm going to zero it again, and then I'm going to add the other stuff until I get that 10:1 ratio. Although I'm not going to pour it into this one at first. Sorry, I'm actually going to be like pouring it into here so I can mix it, and then I'm going to pour it into there after I have my little gear stuck to the bottom, which I'm going to use this double-sided tape for. I'm just going to like cut off a little piece, stick it to the bottom there, tack the gear down, and then pour in the silicone rubber mixture, and that should do pretty well, but we'll see. This little pill container here is where I keep all those little gears that I've removed from other stereos to make those molds, and I keep them around, you know, just in case I need to make a new mold or whatever. I'd rather not have to collect a bunch more again. I already have these. I can just do it from here. And I mean, they're so small that I want to get as much detail as possible, and that's why I have to use the vacuum, because that's like, you know, the easiest way that I can remove all the bubbles from the mixtures and get, you know, like really detailed like teeth and stuff like that. And well, one thing that having the bubbles also does is that it weakens the structure of the gear, because, you know, it's introducing a lot of air, so there's like a lot of like really thin plastic areas of like really thin plastic, and, you know, that would just make the gear break easier. Just wanted to do a little quick close-up here so I can show you guys the amount of detail that I'm able to get using this method. So as you can see, they're pretty well formed. There's really not a whole lot of defects on them, except for, you can kind of see like a little, which one is it, like a little line up there on that one right there. That's from where the original was cracked. That hasn't been an issue. I mean, I know it can be kind of like a bit of a weak point, but so far it has not been an issue at all. I haven't had any of these come back, so I'm just going to cross my fingers that they'll continue doing pretty well. There was one that I noticed that had a little bubble on the corner. Let's see if I can find it here. That one right there on the bottom right has a little bit of a bubble, so that one was one that, you know, still contained a bubble when the plastic stuff was setting. What I do to make the holes on these, this one actually I had left the silicone, the little peg on there. I pulled it away out on these other ones, so I have to drill those holes out. That way they're not too big. but as you can see, that one still had the hole. So I try to get a drill bit that's just slightly smaller than what the shaft is, so that when I put these on, you know, it fits on pretty snug and tight, and it's able to grip that shaft pretty well. Okay, so here I've removed the roller from the rest of the assembly. It just had a screw on this side, and then a couple springs holding it down on these little hooks right there, and then this just kind of like came out. This it's got a little plastic clip here on the end that I'll have to remove, and then apparently this other piece here, which is separate, should come off. I guess it kind of acts like a bearing, because these two sides fit in a little slot, and you know, it's got to move, so they just use these like so that it kind of prevents too much wear on this rod. Alright, so I use an X-Acto knife to remove that little little plastic clip there, so then this should just slide off, and this one is just going to slide off pretty easily. So there it is. Oh, actually it looks like it's got, yeah, this one has a flat side. I don't know if it's going to be present on here. Probably not, because if this thing has been, well, actually it kind of is there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. I don't know if you would have seen it in the video, but yeah, it still has a flat spot. So yeah, as it was moving around, it, you know, it just kind of slipped over that flat spot there. So let's get this cleaned up. The way I'm going to do that is I'm actually just going to put it in another one of these little pill containers, and I'm just going to add a little bit of alcohol to it. Just kind of swirl it around. Well, you can see it's already starting to look a lot cleaner. I'm just going to repeat it again. Let's add a little bit more alcohol to it. Alright, and I'm just going to let it sit for a couple minutes or so, just to let the alcohol kind of use a little toothbrush to try to get in there and clean all those little crevices. Alright, so I think that should just about do it. That should be pretty okay. Just don't want there to be grease on it, because it's just going to make it harder for the tape to hold it down. And also I don't want it contaminating the silicone mixture. So I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so there's my cap with the double-sided tape, and I'm cleaning everything with alcohol as I go, just to, you know, remove any contaminants, grease or whatever from my fingerprints or whatnot, just to make sure everything sticks properly. Gotta remove the outer layer there. So there's that. And now I'm going to take the gear, and I'm going to, if I could grip it, I'm going to place it with the flat side down. This other raised side is going to be up. So I'm going to try to stick it in the center there, and I'll use something else to put some pressure on it. Like that. Okay. So that should be in there pretty well. That's not going to go anywhere. So now let's go ahead and mix up our silicone mix. Alright, so let's get working on the mixture here, the silicone mixture. I'm going to turn this on, zero out. Okay, we're in grams. Take our container, it's 3.9 grams, zero that out. So now let's add some of this stuff. I'm just going to use the back end of a Sharpie to just kind of drip it in there, because I don't want to add too much, but I want to have some control. So just going to kind of dab it on there thick, and then just slowly drip it on. Of course, I want to make sure I have enough to fill up that little cap. So I'm going to make sure I add plenty, but not too much. I mean, this way I kind of avoid wasting a lot of it. And this stuff is pretty thick, so I'm thinking maybe I'll do, I think 10 grams should do it. And that way I only have to add 1 gram of the other stuff. 6, 9.7, 9.8, just a tiny little bit more. 9.9. Alright, there we go. We got 10. Okay, so I guess I don't really have to zero it out. I just have to add enough to make it 11 grams total. So I'm just going to add a few drops until it gets to 11 grams. Okay, maybe more than a few drops. It's taking quite a bit. Okay, so 11 on the dot. Now we just got to mix this up, and the good thing about the silicone mixture is that it gives you quite a bit of working time, so it's not like you have to be super fast about it like you do with the resin stuff, because that one starts setting quick. I mean, it's really fast, as you'll see. So now I can go ahead and mix this, and then we'll pour it into our little mold. So as we're mixing this here, we're actually introducing a lot of air into the mixture. We're almost done, but that's part of the reason why this stuff has so many bubbles in it, because you have to mix it, and you really kind of can't mix it without introducing air into it. So we'll just, it's a little bit longer, and I think it's actually pretty good now. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into my mold here. And we want to make sure we get, the vacuum's kind of gonna take care of it, so not really worried about making sure that it covers everything at the moment. Looks like this is actually a pretty good amount. A little bit more than we needed, but it's okay. This has only been sitting there for a couple minutes, and you can already see a bunch of those bubbles surfacing. And you could technically tap it and help a lot of those bubbles come up, but we're not going to sit here and tap it. We're just going to use a vacuum. Alright, so there's the cap inside the little vacuum chamber. Now you can see it's still bubbling. I'm going to turn on the pump, and it's a little loud, so hopefully it's not going to be too loud. I'm going to have to turn the volume down on the video here. But I'm going to go turn it on now, and you'll see it bubbling pretty wildly. And I'm expecting some of it to kind of pour out the sides, but that's okay. There should be plenty of the silicone mixture still in there to make a pretty decent sized mold. So here it goes. I'm just going to hit the switch for a little bit and then just let it sit. Then I'll hit it again and I'll let it sit. And the reason for that is because this is a foam gasket, so it doesn't make a perfect seal. It still allows a little bit of air in, but it's enough to kind of just hold the vacuum, which is just what I want. Just enough to get a lot of those bubbles out. So here it goes. I've forgotten to close the little valve that lets the air back in. I closed it off now, and once it's actually holding a vacuum, you can see a lot of the bubbles rising up. It looks like a muffin almost, but one thing you'll notice here is that right now it's under vacuum, and once I release the vacuum, a lot of those bubbles seem to disappear. But it's not really that they disappear, it's that because of the vacuum, the air inside of the mixture is able to expand more, so they look a lot bigger. So when I release the vacuum, it looks like there's nothing there at all, like there's no bubbles or anything. And then once you vacuum it out again, and all that air inside the mixture is able to expand, then you get all those bubbles again. And right there, it's probably gonna spill out the sides. So let me just release it a little bit. And I'm just going to continue doing this for a little bit just to try to get as much out of the mixture as I can. I'm going to add a little bit more silicone to this because I did lose a lot of it when it bubbled over the top. But luckily, there's still quite a bit left. So, like I said, this stuff gives you a pretty long working time, so it's not like it started to harden it yet or anything. The more air you vacuum out, the bigger the bubbles get. As you can see, it's bubbling at a pretty good rate right there, and there's a lot of air coming out of it. Unfortunately, I lost a lot to the side, but oh well, it should still be fine. I guess what I should have done is use some of that Captain tape around the edges to keep most of this stuff in, but oh well. Maybe next time. Look at those huge ones right there. It's like 4 huge ones. Pop. Pop. Okay, so this has been sitting for a little over 10 minutes now, and it's still under vacuum, but as you can see, there's really nothing coming out of it anymore. So I'm going to release the vacuum. And now I'm going to let this sit overnight. It does take a while to actually like solidify, but we'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish the rest of this. I know this is going to seem instantaneous to you guys, but it's felt like an eternity to me. It's been more than 2 days. It's just a little under 3 days now. I seem to be having some problems with this stuff. It's, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be solidifying very well. As you can see, the stuff that was left over inside of this little cup is still really squishy. And the stuff that I actually put in a little pot here is a little bit better, but not much. I mean, this stuff should have been like just pretty solid rubber by now. So I'm going to, well, I'll try to pull it out and see if it's going to be usable at all. If not, I'm going to have to start over from scratch. I don't know if there was an issue with the curing agent stuff. I don't know, it seemed kind of weird, so maybe I should have shaken it up before I used it. So if this mold doesn't work out after I cut it out of this little cap, then I'll do it over again, but this time after I've shaken up the curing agent and see if there's any difference, because like I said, it should not have taken, it's been like almost 3 days and this stuff still doesn't look like it's in very good shape. So let's give it a shot and see if this is going to be useful at all. Pull the cap out of the rest of the stuff here. Nope, I don't think this is going to work at all. Look, it's this stuff is not solidified at all. It's still really sticky. Ugh, great. Well, let's see if this stuff is any better in here. Alright, looks like here we go. I managed to get this cut in 2 here, and it's starting to peel out. Should be able to just pull it out now. Or not quite. Yeah, this is really soft still, and it should not be this soft anymore. But there's the gear. You can see it on the bottom. At least that stayed in place. Can get this out of here. This is gonna mess up the mold. Yeah, this is not gonna work. Ugh, man. I was really hoping we'd be able to do this in one shot, but I mean, it doesn't look bad. It looks like it's held its shape pretty well. So I don't know, we can give it a shot. I just don't really like it. So we'll try it anyways. We'll see what kind of if we can get a pretty decent gear out of here. I mean, it's holding its shape. If it was like just completely, just, you know, like a blob or something of the silicone rubber, then, you know, I'd be kind of worried, but it's holding its shape pretty well. So I think we should be able to give it a shot and see what we get. If we don't get anything, I mean, if it's all distorted and out of shape, then I am gonna have to redo this over. And like I said, this is just a one-of, so I'm not expecting to be making a bunch of these anytime soon. So if I have to, I mean, I will make another one. But for now, let's just give this a shot and see if we get a decent gear out of it. Okay, now here's an extreme close-up of it with the macro. It looks like the teeth are formed pretty well. So I think we should be able to have a good go at this. If you look at that piece in the middle there, you can actually see the flat side. So I think that should be okay. And I think we should be fine. Okay, I got everything ready now. Got my 2 little pipettes here with the each with the 2-part mix. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few drops, like say we'll do 5 drops of each one into one of these little wells. We'll mix it up for a little bit. I mean, you only get like 2 minutes of work time with this stuff. And then we're going to drip it onto the mold there, which I already put Kapton taper on, so it kind of contains it. And then I'll put the vacuum on, and then we'll pump it out, and it's going to bubble again. And after that, we'll let it sit for 15 minutes or so, and it should be pretty solidified, and then we'll take it out, see how it does. And I have to be really quick about this after I start mixing this stuff, because it's going to start solidifying really quick. I'm going to try to get a pretty decent amount here. So 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. We'll just do 10 of each, just to be on the safe side. So there's 10 of that. 8, 9, 10. Okay. Okay, I think I should be good. The bubbling action should take care of the rest. And then once we vacuum it out, it's also going to help pull the air out from inside of the mold. And it's going to pull this mixture into all those cavities for the teeth and whatnot. So that's that. Put this on. Okay. Uh-oh, forgot to close the valve here. Sweet. Okay. So all those air bubbles are coming out of the mixture. You're actually going to be able to see it when it starts solidifying. It starts turning white. Okay, it looks like it's bubbled enough. I mean, yeah, there's still quite a bit of air in there, but it'll be really tiny amount once I release the vacuum. So, and it looks like it's going to start solidifying pretty soon here. So I'm just going to release the vacuum, and I'll just kind of settle in there. Looks like it went in there pretty well. So we're just going to let it sit now, and then we'll come back and check on it in a bit. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes since I put it in here, and you can start seeing it turn kind of cloudy, and it's kind of started in the middle and it's just spreading outwards. So in a few minutes here, this should be pretty hard. Yeah, you can see it kind of, I mean, it's kind of a slow process, but yeah, you can see it starting to turn wider and wider from the middle outwards. So yep, we'll let it sit for about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes, and then we'll come back and remove it. Okay, it's been a bit more than 20 minutes because I had to go do something else, but as you can see, this is hardened pretty well. So now let's try to demold it here. And the tape actually was kind of pointless because it didn't even spill past that ring inside there. So that's okay. It should have come out. And there it is. Yeah, this is totally going to destroy this mold because it's too soft, but all we care is that we've got this gear. And it actually doesn't look bad at all. So I think that's going to be able to use that just fine. I just got to remove it from here, and should be pretty good. Let's get the macro so we can see if we've got any defects or anything on it. Well, I gotta say, that doesn't look bad at all. Turned out pretty good. There's no bubbles, from what I can tell. Looks pretty well formed, so it should be good. You just have to cut it off of here and then just sand the backside a little bit just to smooth it out. But everything else looks totally fine. So I think we're gonna be good with this. I'm going to score the bottom here with this X-Acto knife, and it should eventually just pop out. I've already scored it a little bit, and there it goes. So yeah, just give it a little sanding on the bottom. Actually, it looks like it might not even really need it, but I'll give it a good little sanding anyway, just to kind of remove that sort of like little bump you can see it has in there. It's not entirely flat, even though I don't think that would affect it very much. But other than that, looks like we're pretty good here. Not too bad. So it looks like we'll be pretty good. So let's do a little test fit and see how it fits on that shaft. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. It's taking a little bit of pressure to put on there, so yep, that's gonna work out pretty nice. So I think we're good. I don't remember which which side was what, so I'm gonna have to probably go back and look at the video just to make sure that I put it on the right way. But it's not slipping at all, so that's gonna be pretty good. That'll work out really well. Alright, so I went back and checked, and that's the way that it's supposed to go on here. I already put that little roller back on and the little clip that holds it in place, a little retaining, a little ring. And as always, before I put it back together, I always like to get a little bit of alcohol and clean the rollers with it, because I've been touching this, so I want to remove any grease that I might have left on with my fingers from touching it. That way it's able to grip the disc once it's all put back together. And I also clean like the surfaces that this disc slides across, like this plastic one up here. You can see there's a little bit of dirt and stuff on it, so it's just like built up dust. Just want to get all that stuff off, just to make sure that it's gonna, you know, it's gonna take the disc in and eject it pretty reliably. So we had to go in here first. That roller has to go inside of that slot, as you can see right there, so that goes in there. And then this other side, just got to get it to go inside of its spot too. There's another little hole that needs to go in right here on the bottom. So let's push that into place. Actually, we got to make sure that we get this little plate down here right at the right side. I should probably move these springs out of the way too. They're not really helping. And on the other side, this one's not really in the way, so I'm just going to leave it for now. Gotta get this to go in. There it goes. Okay, so now it's in. I just gotta attach the screw that holds this down. There we have it. The screw's back in place. I've reattached the springs. So now there should be nothing. And the gears are meshing pretty well up there, because see, it's rotating just fine. So nothing should stop this now from being able to take a disc in. Let's see if we got something here. Just use this. And it's gonna go that way. So yeah, there it goes. Looks like it should work just fine. I'll go ahead and put it all back together, and then we'll give it a shot in the actual unit, because I have the whole thing. So let's give it a shot and see how it works out. Okay, we're going with a little bit of handheld action here, but I got the drive put all back together. I've put it in here just with just a couple of screws. It's not in permanently yet. I've reattached all the connectors. Turns out there was actually 3, but I didn't realize when I pulled this out that this bottom one just got yanked out. And so there's 2 here. There's one set here, and then one set here, and then the ribbon cable that goes to that. But it's I mean, nothing got damaged, so it's fine. Got power coming in. We're gonna turn it on, and I don't have a movie DVD here or anything right now, so we're just gonna test it with this MGS2 disc. Just I mean, we just want to see it pull it in or whatever. I believe it should play something telling you that, you know, it's a PS2 disc or whatever. So we'll give it a shot. And it's just gotta turn it on first. There's the LCD itself. Let me turn power on. So as you can see, that's on in there. Let me put the disc in. Sweet. Now it's loading. Oh, it's showing some folders from the disc, but I mean, it's obviously working, so we're good there. Like I said, the only issue was it wasn't loading discs. So now we should be able to eject, and it's that button here. Heard it stop. There you go. So yeah, that was it. So I hope you learned something from this as to how you can go about making your own gears. I know it's not exactly the cheapest method, but like I said, I tend to make quite a few every once in a while, so it was kind of worth it to me. might not be so worth it if you're just trying to like make one. But well, I guess it depends on the item too. If it's something you really need to fix, then I guess, you know, it could be worth it. But so again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.